Nothing to see here, or is there? So here it is, the brand new Nothing Phone 2a. I've been using this for a few days now, and I want to talk to you about my experiences, talk to you about the good, the bad, and ultimately help you answer whether or not this is just all hype or a really good offering from Nothing. First things first, this new Nothing Phone 2a, think of it more as an optimal everyday smartphone. So it's not a flagship, but it hasn't been compromised on some of those core elements that you would need from a smartphone. And you'll notice that it's different from the flagship. So if I put it next to the current Nothing Phone 2, if you compare the two of those from a design, you can certainly tell a difference. There's a difference certainly noticeable where the camera bumps are placed. So you've got this vertical as opposed to the horizontal design on the Phone 2a. I personally like how they've done it on the back. It's quite hard to achieve this. If you look at a lot of other smartphones, they haven't been able to place a dual camera on the back in this kind of symmetrical way. So I think the way Nothing have done this is actually really, really good. And it also gives it some character. We've seen memes online about how this might look like a Minion or some other sort of cartoon character. I think it adds to the personality of this device. One of the things that I would have liked to see change, if you look on the Nothing Phone 2, you've got this gray color in this dark variant. Obviously it comes in a white, a lighter color. On the Phone 2a, it's a little too dark for my liking. It's actually quite hard to see the details on the back, which I think makes this really stand out. Now on the back, you still have that design, iconic design that in many ways is part of the DNA of Nothing. And those are the glyphs or those lights that light up on the back. They've incorporated that in a slightly different setup on this new design. I actually like it. I think it's subtly done, but more importantly, it's there because it carries through with the Nothing branding. Certainly makes this smartphone, as does most of the other Nothing devices, stand out from all the other Android smartphones. It's fun and it's cool. But what I will say here is I find myself using this less and less. Certainly very helpful when I'm charging up or want to know how much charge is left or for the timer, but you can customize these and some people might feel they're a bit kind of gimmicky. It really depends on how you look at it, but yeah, I like to see that there. Check out that display. Incidentally, this is my own wallpaper pack, the Dubai 28 wallpaper pack, which I'll leave a link down below if you were to download. If you do, let me know what you think of it. This is a really nice display. It's a flat display, which I'm a big fan of. It supports adaptive refresh, 30 Hz going all the way up to 120 Hz of refresh. And it's got great touch sampling. It's also got Corning Gorilla Glass 5, so that gives you peace of mind. Really everything that you would expect from a display, punchiness, vibrancy, multimedia, gaming, you're gonna get a good experience from this display. 1300 nits of peak brightness, that's probably the only thing that I would have liked to see slightly higher. Now for performance, Nothing have packed in here a MediaTek Dimensity 7200 chipset that's paired with either 8 or in my case 12 GB of RAM with 256 GB of storage. Essentially there's also an 8 GB RAM booster, so it's plenty for day-to-day use. If you can afford it, I would stretch out for that 12 GB with 256 because you'll be able to get a lot more smoother experience with the additional RAM when it comes to multitasking, when it comes to gameplay. Essentially gameplay was interesting for me. Let me just talk about that very quickly. So I expected this to run a little hotter when I was doing gameplay, but surprisingly it ran quite cool, and I think that's down to the cooling vapor system that they've incorporated in the design. So for longer periods of gaming, if you're planning on using this for this, you should be rest assured because it's actually held up better than I expected. So that's a positive. Now, as far as OS is concerned, this runs Android 14 right out of the box. That means you get 3 years of updates, you get 4 years of security patch updates, and it also runs Nothing OS 2.5, which is essentially Nothing's own OS on the system. Android-like experience, but I think it actually adds to that. There's a ton of customizations and they're really done very, very well. So you can add widgets as I've done here. One of my favorite widgets is actually the weather widget app. It's very simple, very clean. It just runs through and it doesn't feel like a standard, you know, every other experience Android smartphone. They've certainly paid attention to this design. It's visually, in my opinion, very, very appealing. and obviously customize it to your liking. So that's a positive. Right, let's talk about those dual cameras on the back. Both of them are 50 megapixel. The main supports OIS and EIS autofocus, and then the ultra wide is also a 50 megapixel f2.2. Now on the front, we have a 32 megapixel selfie shooter, which is f2.2. And these cameras support the TrueLens engine, the Ultra XDR. As you can see from some of the examples here, I think the images taken are pretty decent for this price point and the specs. You can see there's details there. It is a cloudy day today, but bear in mind when you start zooming in beyond 2x, particularly at the maximum 10x, you will notice more noise, more distortion in the images taken. But I'd love to know your thoughts of these images in the comments down below, so let me know. And let's show you what the video performance is like. What's this? Rain and clouds, beginning of March here in Abu Dhabi. It's a bit unusual, but we're also testing out the video. So here's the thing, 4K, 30 frames per second is where this thing is limited at, and this is with the rear camera. Currently filming in ultra wide. What's interesting is if you start filming in ultra wide, you can't zoom in, so it doesn't have that smooth between ultra wide 1x and then zooming in. But yeah, as I move around, let me know what you think of the quality, and I'll show you now what 1x looks like. This is video at 1x, which I think generally is a bit better than ultra wide. And you can start zooming in, going all the way up to 10x. But obviously, as you can tell there, it's very noisy, and it's better to stick to 1 or 2x for video. But yeah, 4K, limited to 4K at 30 frames per second. There's no 60 FPS here. Let me know what you think. Comment below about the quality of the video, the sound, the colors. Yeah, let me know. I'm testing out that front-facing selfie camera for video. Here's the thing, 1080p is where it's locked. You either have 30 or 60 frames per second. There's no 4K. I would have really liked to see 4K, ideally 60 frames per second, but you know, at least 4K 30 frames per second. But no, you have to stick with 1080p, 30 or 60. Let me know what you think as I move around. Audio, sound quality, let me know. 5,000 milliamp hour battery inside this thing, which is pretty impressive when you consider just how thin it is. But yeah, 5,000 milliamp hour battery means you're gonna get good battery life, at least a day and plus some. Couple of things to note though, there is no wireless charging, which is something that I would like to have seen, but there's no wireless charging, there's no reverse wireless charging, there's no brick in the box, but it does support 45 watt charging, which means you can charge from 0 to 100 in about an hour, or 0 to 50% in about 25 minutes. That's what I found. So pretty decent at this price point and spec wise. Now talking of price, this is a smartphone that certainly if you wanna get into the Nothing branding, it's squarely aimed at the audience that might be interested at that mid-range, but it also wants to buy into the Nothing brand. There's no getting away from it. This is an Android smartphone, but I think the edge of the design, the glyph interface, the overall branding, if you buy into that from Nothing, is gonna set this apart from many of the other Android smartphones out there. From a price point, it's pretty decent for a mid-range smartphone. I'll post all the details about the local pricing here in this region. Plus another interesting thing is that Nothing for the launch of the Phone 2a are doing 100 drops, where around the world in different cities, the first 100 people to purchase this are gonna get a bunch of goodies incorporated in that. So if you wanna know if that's happening near you and how you can get involved, check out the link down below. Do follow Nothing on their socials, because that's where they're posting all that good information. Finally, I'd love to know your thoughts, so leave those in the comments down below. And if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to smash that subscribe button, hit like, and follow me over here for the next video. I'll see you there. M Kwan with the new Nothing Phone 2a. Peace and blessings.